Hello and welcome to, I think this is going to be a short video. The previous one was so long that, it was way too long. So this won't be. Because when I started the P3B-F build, I thought I was going to make a better replacement for this one during the summer, and it's already August and I only just started and I didn't have any I just started to cut things, and that's usually when things go wrong, and you need some sort of design at least, because there will be problems, yes. But let's just take a quick look how this should go. These are not final yet. Something like this, and there's a bit, actually this is, it goes like this, so this is almost at the same height as this one, but this should go something like this, but you can already see my first mistake. I should have removed this piece as well for the 3.5-inch drive, so I need to modify this a bit. But other than that, this is actually quite good start. I may need to do some adjustment, and of course I need to grind things a bit, and that's what you always need to do anyways. So let's take a look at back here. I don't know how well it sees on camera. It's something like this. So there's a gap below this. If I place a case fan here, well, it should work just fine, because I don't want any holes here, and I could certainly do things like that, but better not. And I'm going to paint all of these parts, so they're not going to end up looking like this. Oh yeah, this by the way, it's very good fit here, but this I need to grind a bit. But anyways, and possibly this, but I can adjust this and glue it in a position and then simply cut from below here whatever is necessary. This needs to be adjusted before I glue this on. But what's missing are the LEDs and buttons. And this original, well, this didn't have a reset button at all, and of course I'm going to want the reset button. And these are somewhat in angle, yes. I could certainly use these existing where they are mounted at the moment, but that would require some very precision thing, so perhaps I'll just remove this plastic and just place those wherever I can. But that isn't really the hardest thing, but that's already something extra. But another thing, this is going to be a bit harder. If I want compact flash adapter somewhere, well, I should have make holes for this case before mounting motherboard and everything there. So I'm not going to take it apart, and I really don't like to make any holes here anyways. I don't have proper equipment for that, and it's just not going to be good. So if I want them here, well, the only place is either this side or this side, and that's actually a very good one, because I don't want this kind of hole And I could of course cover it with something, but that's, well, it just adds extra things here, and there's going to be enough anyways. Let me show, there's something else I want here as well. And so I would need to place this somewhere here. I could perhaps, and I think I should, make this deeper, this hole here. That would actually improve the ventilation a bit. And at the same, when I do that, I could of course make hole somewhere here, so this adapter fits. And this is probably what I'm going to do. And if I'm going to add this to the side here, well, perhaps I should add something else as well, like one of these USB connectors. Of course, there's nothing on this motherboard where I can connect it to, so I would need to use USB controller card. I do have those, but I don't think there will be free PCI slot for that anyways. And I probably not going to need any more USBs than the ones behind the computer. Perhaps only, actually, because this is going to be mostly DOS system anyways. Rather, the primary use is DOS and the secondary use is Windows 98. So I'm not going to use USB mouse, or if I am, and I probably actually am going to use, I'm going to use one with USB to PS2 adapter. And I don't trust USB support for DOS stuff on these early USB systems, especially the keyboard. Well, it's just asking trouble, so I'm not going to use USB keyboard here. So those two USBs at the back, I think they are USB 1.1, so very slow. Well, they are going to left unused anyway. So if I would want to use something fast for perhaps USB sticks, well, I would need that USB card anyways. But if I install one, yeah, some USB connector would be nice, and I would place it here at the side, because if I'm going to make a hole, I can certainly make a hole big enough so I can fit one of these as well. Since this is DOS system primarily, I don't want any USB stuff or non-period correct stuff visible here, so they go to the side if I need to, and if possible under some cover, so I can hide them completely when they are not in use. But since some, and what else I could use, place here, well, perhaps line in on microphone input and line outs, perhaps these, or perhaps something else, because those later sound cards, ISO sound cards, well, they do have some connector for the case connectors, so they could go here, but I really am not going to need those, since I was supposed to use this one anyways. There's only this for the headphones, but still, I don't think I'm going to need anything else. And I still don't know what I should do this one, because these are going to wear out, all this text here. I should cover them with something, but I don't completely want to hide this. That's just something I need to think about. I'm just checking if I perhaps leave these unpainted and use varnish on them maybe. But this is going to stand out whatever I do, so perhaps not. But the hardest part, this is, as I already said many times, for DOS primarily, and of course, since we can adjust easily the C3 Nehemiah here, the speed, well, of course, I want some megahertz display. and normal one won't do because I want something that says if it's 386, 486 speed, Pentium speed, whatever speed. So I have this OLED, 1.54 inch OLED, 128 times 64 pixels. And how we are actually going to connect this to the computer? Well, I'll leave that for another video when it's time to actually get this working, because I don't have any ready solution. We need to make one. But this needs to be mounted somehow, somewhere here. Perhaps close to this area, who knows. But I don't want any PCBs visible. This has to be something very, very nice. And I don't want this to be somewhere down the hole, well, under here like this. Absolutely not. I want this and only the visible area to be visible and as close as possible here. Not so it won't be any at any hole. But no, this is going to be a problem because I really don't know. I need something perhaps to rotate this a bit, and also and I want it to be mounted from the back side so that this can be removed, and that makes things even a bit more harder. And this is quite a small hole I need to make, and I want it to be rectangle. It just can't look like whatever shaped hole there. It needs to look nice, and I really don't know the best way. And of course, where I position this, well, this needs to be positioned first, because this is going to need something here, and this just has to go somewhere, perhaps here at the center, down the center, I don't actually know. And this is also going to have another function. If I'm going to install some MT32 Pi solution here, and I am absolutely going to test this at least, well, I want that one to use this display as well. So all the MT32 text that some games makes and everything else, I want this to be used for that one as well, and this is of course makes things even more tricky. But mounting is the only thing I need to think at the moment, because I think so the best solution would be I make a hole a bit bigger than this PCB, and then I can perhaps with the help of hot glue, whatever, install it from the other side, not permanently glue it there. I want some kind of screws, and then just place something like this so I can make it look as good as possible. But this is going to have a problem as well, because then I end up having some sort of bump here, and I don't want that either. But I need to make some sort of compromise, and since I already have these edges are already perhaps 3 millimeters or 2, something like that, above this, well, perhaps this doesn't matter. I'll grind them to the same level as this one, and I think this is the best compromise. But this I absolutely want here, and getting this one is the hardest here. This is, by the way, white colored. When I ordered this, there was blue option as well, but I don't want any blue LEDs They are definitely not period correct. Of course, white isn't either, but since the case is something, I don't know if it's going to be the gray-white color or something a bit more beige, but perhaps white is better here, and either way, perhaps I could tint it with some plastic sheet or whatever. I would actually want to use a real glass and then place this under it, but that's going to make things even more problematic. Perhaps just getting this as close here as possible and then surround it with these and grind them as thin as possible. But this is going to end up here, definitely. Also, I may need to make these covers here, at least one, but I intentionally didn't cut any pieces at the moment because I want to glue this thing together and then take very fine measurements here and make them last when everything else is almost together for painting. So lots of work to do yet, but at least I've started. Perhaps we'll take some look before I paint this thing when it's time to do that, but other than that I just need to continue modifying this and trying to get this and everything else here somewhere. I thought this video would have been over, but no. I noticed another issue, and this is actually, I had to remake this. We'll get back to that one. Why I had to, but I hope it is on the camera, but this was supposed to go something like this. And yeah, these are very nicely at the same height as this tries, and that's exactly how it was supposed to be. Except when I place this here, well, of course this surface is a couple of millimeters lower, so this is perhaps on the way. Let's see, can I fit it nicely? So it would be perhaps something like this, and yeah, it's not end of the world, it's just a couple of millimeters, but I don't like it, and this drive should have been at the same height as this surface, and that's clearly not the case. And also, last time you see this, well, I hadn't even cut this for the 3.5 inch drive. I forgot to measure that one, I think, and well, this is how it now is. Sure, it would have been nicer if the drives would have been on this alone, but no, they are partially here and little bit here, and of course now if I get the drives to this height, well, a little bit is going to show there, but that doesn't really matter. But I just need to grind to make it look nicer. Now I need to raise this somehow. I need to glue something under here, something like this, and grind it a bit the same height and so on and so on. And well, it's just something I have to do, and it is going to be extra work. But since I have to do it, well, this is the other side I got places for those. Let's go something like this and like this. So yeah, the compact glass, it goes something like this. I'll most likely need to change this header to angled one, but that's not much of an issue. And USB, something like this, and audio jacks go here. So something like this is going to glue on top of this. So I to raise this, and then I can fill with whatever, and perhaps build some small cover here. And so I think I can hide this quite nicely. And even if I don't never need this, well, at least they are there, and just in case. This perhaps could be useful, but how can I get this cable? Because some of those CF cards, well, most of them, well, they don't work as slave drives, so this have to be master, and I would need to use the same cable for DVD drive as well to connect it as slave, or I could connect it to slave with the hard drive, but the hard drive is down there and this DVD drive is up there, and so it doesn't. It's the cable isn't long enough, and it may be even more problem with this one. I almost certainly don't find a cable that is going to be long enough. So maybe I would have to make one, but I don't have equipment for that. That's for something later. We worry about it when it's time to worry about it. And you may wonder what this is. Well, I'm going to fill this with epoxy after I've painted this and finished it and everything. So the LEDs go. I actually need to drill some hole for the LEDs, but they go somewhere in this gap, and well, they basically light this whole area that is covered with clear epoxy. I think it's going to be quite nice. I didn't want just some round LEDs to this. It would have been more like early 90s design, and this, well, I don't know what design this is, but I thought maybe that would be nice. I don't know. Reset button goes here, power button here, but I would have liked larger hole. This is quite small for power button, but I didn't have any drill bit larger that would make a nice hole. I have bad drill bits, but they are going to rip surroundings, and I would have to make third one. And let's now actually see why I had to make the second one. This is the first one. I've now done some other things to simply experiment before doing this here. But it was this measurement issue, because, well, I didn't have this hole here originally. So this was measured so that the drive would fit here and will this. Of course, I would have needed, was it this one or the other one? I think this one. Something like this I would have to glue it there. But anyways, now that the drive starts 4 millimeters here, well, there's going to be a 4 millimeter gap on this side, and I decided it's better to do a new one, especially when practicing this one. This is for the OLED speed display. It is kind of broken. I glued them glued them back for another reason, because I'm going to keep experimenting with this one, but let's go to that soon and take a look about the OLED. And this is absolutely the best I can do. This is got the best I can do, and I think it is very good. I need to glue a little piece here, but that shouldn't be much of an issue. So the OLED goes there quite nicely, and I don't have any glass to cover it. I would need some very thin, and it would need to be very high precision cut. I don't think I could even make perfect glass here even if I wanted. So perhaps something like this. I'm going to round this a bit, but not much, and just keep it like this. It is down in the hole, something I wouldn't have liked, but yeah, this is the best I can do. Or is it? Because what I could do is try to fill this with epoxy, and perhaps after painting this, and it might turn good, but most likely it won't. And there's another issue with the epoxy as well. So now let's take this one, because I'm going to practice with this one. I'll glue something here to keep the epoxy there. And for the epoxy, this is AliExpress stuff. Let me show you. I haven't tried this. I have no idea how good this is. But at least there's enough of this. Crystal clear it says, but I'm quite certain that this is going to turn yellow eventually, and something I certainly wouldn't want here. But does this smooth enough, and how does this look? Well, I'm just curious to try, so I'm going to try it with this one, and perhaps we'll take a look on some another video later when I'm finished with everything else. But yeah, I actually bought this for another project, but we'll hopefully get to that eventually. But now that I have this, I'm going to use this epoxy to make these buttons. We'll just have to see how that one goes, but I'm sure I'm going to paint them anyway, so this is most likely good stuff for making those. We'll just have to see how it turns out. I think that is everything for now. I suppose I need to sand this a bit, because it's going to be harder when I glue these together. Then I'm going to, where it is here, and I actually already managed to drop this, but I would have rounded this anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So first I need to start by gluing these together, and I simply need to do the gluing one part at a time and wait enough, and so it's definitely glued before it's safe to move to the next part, and so on and so on. So it's going to take many days before I can get this together, and this is actually a bit too long. I'm going to cut these to correct size when they are all glued together. These need to be sanded down, smooth out a bit before even gluing this one. So this is what I'm going to do. So thank you for watching, and let's hope this turns out to be good. So bye!